At the end of the day, the Handshake duel need to stop playing ping pong with Kenyans' lives. I hope that Unga do not come with a campaign message.
What do you mean by a campaign message?
A poster, a picture of a project candidate, or similar things. I hope they don't do that. You know, we have a principle in law that do not treat people as a means to an end, but an end by itself. So you don't feed me to fatten me so that you want my vote. I'm not a pig. You feed me because it is the right thing to do. And the government need to know that. That in fact, you know, we have talked of Antoinette's situation who said if there is no bread, eat cake. Even if you bring banana today, the state capture will make that banana unaffordable. Because the game is put it high, get all the money you can, lower it, look like Messiah, 3 weeks to election. Hopefully Kenyans have amnesia. They will worship you until they wake up and find you in the State House and then realize, boy, we made a mistake.
But I think what Mheshimiwa Elachi was saying earlier on was it doesn't really matter that we're in an election season right now, that all that matters is, okay, so the government is able to now subsidize that maize flour. Yeah. Let's do it now. It doesn't matter, you know, any political leanings.
People must, yeah, no, but you see, it's not Elachi's innovation. I'm talking to the person who is responsible for securing our food security. It is not Mokua who procure food and who runs the country. Mm-hmm. And so I think it will be shooting from the hip when we start talking at each other. We are all victims. And that is one thing that we must be conscious about. And so, and that is the same thing. So when you talk of people who cannot afford, sometimes use words like hustlers. These are people, this is not an offensive word, the Mamamboga and the hustlers are people, and I hope we don't have hustler anxiety. These are people who cannot afford meals, and they are being used as a means to an end. And then, to me, what is important, I expect Kenyans to gravitate back to the manifestos, not the manifesto we are writing now with these prices, but to which path and which manifesto have a good picture on agriculture, have a good picture on affordability of food, and have a good picture of starting on enhancing the daily people's life. You see the problem with this country, we have Africa rising, we have Kenya rising. In fact, the GDP might as well be very high. There was economic index showing that we are growing. But the question is, growing for who? It is mega project, it's for a few people, and the rest of Kenyans who are left behind are left to pick the crumbs and whatever. And that is why this election will be about the whoever calls themselves the hustler and whatever, and it's about the people's interest. Mm-hmm. Food is a matter of choice and taste. And it must respect my dignity. So affordability, yes, quality, and to my taste. So if I want to eat ugali for breakfast, I should be able to eat ugali for breakfast. I should not be told, you know, why don't you try this? Because it's about my dignity, as Elachi put it very well. And that dignity is about choice. Human rights is about choice and capacity. Build my capacity that if I want to eat ugali 4 times a day, I can eat. Don't come and say, why don't you eat this and instead of this? That is part of now domination.
And I mean, it would be interesting that after 4 weeks, perhaps Kenyans would end up finding themselves in the same place, just a few days after the 9th August polls.
Which is why right now we've got this unique and golden opportunity for us to punish, using the ballots, persons who do not respect Kenyans. You know, recently, or rather, the last couple of days, you've seen our political leaders expressing anger and fury. For others, is righteous fury. I mean, you saw William Ruto lose his cool. You saw Martha Karua lose her cool. You saw Raila lose her cool, which is a very good thing. But in a solid leadership, such kind of leaders are not supposed to lose their cool in public. I remember for President Moi, you would not even read his face. I mean, he was a composed, a very solid leader. But now the person who is supposed to lose their cool and anger and exercise their righteous fury is the voter on the voting day. They must punish leaders who take Kenyans for granted. They must punish leaders who come up with policies not because they serve morale, but because they serve their selfish interest. Now, you've seen Dr. Ojwang has acquired a new vocabulary called state capture, and he keeps on repeating it. This show, he's repeated it about 50 times. And then he's spoken about the hustler. But now you must start questioning that when you are elected into office, the French say, what's your raison d'etre? Why are you in office? You are in office to secure lives and property. It's in the Constitution. How can you tell people that you are a success if the basics, food security, you don't achieve it? You know, in other countries, you go like Singapore and South Korea, some of these countries have achieved about 98% housing security. In other countries, if somebody sleeps on an empty stomach, it becomes a national crisis. But in Kenya, what happens when people are sleeping on an empty stomach? You give them food. And just to align with what Dr. Ojwang has indicated, I hope that food which is coming, it will not be branded with either Azimio or Kenya Kwanza. That on the list, it will just have the Kenyan coat of arms.
Wouldn't that be too obvious that then this is suddenly
you can't underrate what these people can do.
Kenyan leaders, Kenyan leaders have got a capacity for mischief, and they've got capacity for surprises. On the list, let's say there is a donation from the Kenyan government, but not with any accompanying message.
But then that isn't belief.
And this government, and this food must not be given out at political rallies. As let it be given through the chiefs, not at political rallies. You know, it's very demeaning when you see a 78-year-old lady in a queue, you know, forming a queue from CBD to Westlands to Kawangware, and then they are given food. They're given 2 packets, you know, branded with a political party. You know, I even see politicians right now, when they're campaigning, they ask people to come under the hot sun. In some places, it's very hot or it's very cold, and the people sit for hours on end waiting for politicians who've been in office for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years, to come and then give them food, instead of taking their responsibility at the National Assembly or Senate, creating an environment for Kenyans to have opportunities. You know, what we are supposed to do as a leader, as a leader, make sure that your citizens have got choice. That is all Kenyans are asking for. Do not limit our choices. As Dr. Ojwang has indicated, if somebody wants to have an omelette for breakfast, allow the person to have an omelette. Don't tell him that now take maybe beans or soya, whatever it is. You know, the true definition of a leader is creating opportunities for your populace, so that we do whatever we want to do, provided it's within the law. And I'm really hoping that our voters, who are largely emotional and irrational, this time around will vote with their selfish interest in mind. There's no use electing somebody to the National Assembly today, and for 4.5 years, all they're doing is taking decisions which serve their selfish interest. Then the last 5 months, they come to the village with truckloads of food. They mesmerize you, and you know most of them are populist politicians. So they come with all manner of choppers. They come with these branded SUVs. They come with T-shirts. They bamboozle you. You give them the vote, and then you see them back again after 4.5 years. I think the Kenyan voter must become very wise and punish impunity, punish mediocrity, punish corruption, and reward meritocracy. You'd remember what our Omalo Kijana said, that if we don't do this thing, for the next 10 years, we are going to be wallowing in a miasma of misery again. And for some reason, I don't know why most voters get mesmerized by politicians. And I don't want to name any on this table. But I know they've got capacity of selling, like now it's very cold. Some of these politicians this morning will be selling ice cream to voters. It's very cold, but they're still selling ice cream. Right. And I really wonder, how come during elections, we lose our capacity for reasoning? We lose our capacity for logic.